Alright, here we are on the 7th Gym Leader of the Lowball series. We are going to be lowballing uh, Erika today. Erika was... Initially I had to try one solution. Ultimately, it's just a kind of an RNG check thing. We've got BS Star here, who's a level 3 Wigglytuff, referencing that I basically borrowed this strategy from the Starmie that we used to beat Koga with. It's literally the exact same moveset: Ice Beam, Psychic, Substitute, Double Team. Erica's got like 3 less Pokemon, and they're or not, 1 less Pokemon rather, and they're lower level. So I find starting at a lower level and quite frankly being with the worst Pokemon. Also, being a water type is kind of bad against her because her AI will prioritize the grass moves then, and that's a good way to get one shot. I initially tried to tackle this with a Pokemon that resisted grass, so the Tangela would focus on the normal moves it's got, and that worked, but I couldn't get it down any lower than 8. So we're going to try it at 3 here with Wigglytuff. First attempt went pretty badly, and there were many other attempts that also went badly. Most of the time, the Tangela just uses any of its moves except Constrict or Bind Miss, and you just immediately faint. But when either you get that outcome, and between the two of them, you're looking at 30 something percent of the time, then you get one attack in and you get a chance to use Ice Beam and hopefully freeze. This is the winning attempt. It's long though, so I've got time to get into all of it. Much more consistent at level 5, but not for reasons of tanking moves or anything, because you die to all these moves anyway. The issue is a PP issue. It's challenging to not run out of PP. You notice I do have 3 PP ups on Ice Beam and 2 PP ups on Psychic. There are 5 available before Cerulean Cave, so those are all in use here. I also pre-lowered my PP in the Double Team and Substitute to have only the values I need there. I probably have a little more Substitute than I actually need, as it turns out. Get the Constrict on turn 1, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, my Ice Beam does not get the freeze, but we're not out of it yet. I give it another shot. The Bind Miss is only 70% accurate, and on this second time, I do get my freeze. So kind of a weird start already. I then proceed to go and set up all my double teams and my substitute. For one thing, I do this fight after Blaine, so we are actually getting badge boosted in special stat. Admittedly, 6 badge boosts only works out to about a +1 or so approximately in special, so it's not huge, especially since we're only level 3 to start with, but it's still, it does help on this very fight, which is very much a tight one. Anyway, once we get everything set up, max evasion, and have a get behind a sub, we can start attacking. And I get actually rather unlucky in this section. My theory here, Psychic has a 30% chance to drop the opponent's special. So my theory, even though Psychic is not super effective against Tangela, and it is against the Pokemon later in the fight, I'm so much weaker in this stage. I really want to try to get a special drop, or even 2, so that my Ice Beams will be actually hitting for a reasonable amount of damage. So I'm fiending for that special drop here. And this particular fight, I just cannot seem to get that special drop. It takes me several attempts, and I'm starting to get like, oh man, I finally got the setup off. I got my 3% or whatever initial freeze in, and now I'm going to fail on this part. I finally do get one special drop. I thought about switching over to Ice Beam here, but I thought I really want a second one, and I try it. Tangela's actually got a lot of special in Generation 1. In later gens, it's all focused on special attack, and so its special defense is really weak. But in Gen 1, it's a combined stat, so its special stat is very high. And I just cannot get these special drops on this Tangela. So at some point, I finally decided I'm just going to switch to Ice Beam and try to knock the thing out and get to the next part of the fight. At this point, I kind of figured I was probably going to need to go and use Struggle to win this out unless I got really lucky. But, got to play it out. I've already invested, 3 or 4 minutes into this particular fight. I may as well give it my best shot. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to make this any more consistent either. There aren't any other better moves that will hit harder or have more PP. Like, yeah, Wigglytuff would probably be better off with like a physical attack, but you kind of need the freeze chance, and you also, I don't know, maybe Body Slam could be an alternative as a physical move. It might actually, you know what? Now that I think about that, that might not be a terrible idea. Oh well, we got through with this. It works. It works. Well, anyway, upon knocking it out, you get a ton of experience. So, be a star. The Wigglytuff levels up to 11, and so now our moves are doing a more reasonable amount of damage. And again, one of the weird things in this gen, Sleep Powder bypasses the substitute. Fortunately, we wake up immediately, which is pretty huge. And again, just not hitting the special drops. 30% chance of it happening. Still missing one. Yeah, I should probably go get a calculator out and figure out the odds of it, because I think I only see 2 in the entire fight. Like, man, I might even get through the Weeping Bell, let alone the Gloom at the end. The Gloom, though, actually has a mechanic that makes it like a little bit easier to knock out than the others. Alright, finally get the special drop. I only have a few attacks left, though. And fortunately, with the double teams keep working, we keep dodging attacks. And I was hoping the last Ice Beam would knock it out, but I guess I missed the range or whatever. Or I was just not in the range. And so, yeah, we're down to just 2 Psychics going into Gloom. So, yeah, definitely getting a little bit worried. I'll level up again to 13 now, going into the Gloom. The Gloom has a few attacks, obviously, but one of its attacks is Petal Dance. After Petal Dance is finished doing its thing, it does cause the Gloom to get confused. I get a special drop on the Gloom. I forgot that. And so that is helpful to try to get that last little bit of chip damage if it punches itself in the face. Oh, that's something too. The reason I really was surprised I managed to get the win on this specific encounter. Erika has a chance of using super potions on all of her Pokemon when they get down to the red. So I was genuinely surprised that she didn't at all in this fight. If she would have, I probably just would not have had the health to survive. And yeah, if I did this again, I think I'd have less substitutes. Like my theory with 5 was the substitutes take up a lot less hit points. Like, because you're leveling up so much in this fight, you have a lot more hit points later on. So that first substitute that you play off of the Tangela doesn't actually use that much of your hit points. But I'd probably realistically still only need 4 or 3 even. Yeah, and you can see the Struggle's actually doing pretty reasonable damage. Again, in retrospect, I probably should have used Body Slam as my secondary move. I would have had more PP. Paralysis would have been useful in terms of like dodging more attacks and stuff. And also, I might even get the outspeed because her Pokemon are very slow. And then, yeah, and Wigglytuff's physical attack is higher than its special. And it would get the same type of attack bonus. But yeah, definitely coming down to the wire here. My struggle is doing reasonable damage, but I'm very much close to death. And the Gloom pokes itself in the eye, and we get the win. So yeah, this is definitely not a super amazingly consistent fight. And again, I think I've talked myself into Body Slam here instead of Psychic. So live and learn there. But yeah, the definitely doable at level 3 with Wigglytuff, copying Starmie's strats.